assemble. I'm Matt. Great to have you here. Let's talk about WWE Backlash from France. And I gotta say, this show surprised me. And I gotta tell you why. We are gonna go through all of the results of the show. So spoiler warning just ahead. So in case you guys don't want to know anything, go watch the show. I think that it is a must watch, must see PLE for this year. Kick things off after WrestleMania, and going into it, I really had moderate low expectations. I didn't think it was going to be a show that was going to be terribly intriguing, just kind of paint by numbers based on the card and how the builds have been. And yeah, the builds have been pretty straightforward. A lot of the stuff fairly predictable in terms of the results themselves, but I did feel that this show was just a banger night of wrestling, or a banger day. Did we bang today? It's a good day of wrestling. So, with WWE Backlash in France, the biggest highlight out of the entire show, and frankly the whole weekend, has to be the crowd. So shout out to the crowd in France, because this made the entire show. I think that if you did this anywhere else, it would have felt good, but that crowd, from beginning to end, was absolutely glued into the whole show, and they were electric. I loved every moment of this, every single match. They didn't let up. They had their foot on the gas the whole way through. And it really, you could tell that as the matches were unfolding all the way through and the crowd was so into it, they were really getting the superstars to actually elevate their game. They felt way more into each of the matches. And kicking things off with the tag team match that broke out as we got started, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. This thing was, again, chaos. We got stunners to the security guards at the beginning. It was absolute mayhem to start. Nick Aldis comes out, and then he declares that, you know what? We're going to do a full street fight, tag team street fight. I love that they threw the rules out the window. It's exactly what this match needed, because going into it, I did suspect you get bloodline interference and you could extend this rivalry and this feud between the bloodline, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. And it seemed like we're going to do just that. But I am glad they went in the direction of a street fight, made it way more fun. They kicked off the whole night with it. I think it's exactly what the crowd needed, because they were so fired up. They love Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and this whole match was really good. It was chaos. It was in the crowd. There was table spots, kendo sticks, garbage cans. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff that they did. They did the table spots at ringside, but the biggest thing was, towards the end of the match, what did we get? We got bloodline interference, obviously, but not by Jacob Fatu. We got Tama Tonga's brother, Tonga Loa, is actually in WWE. This was great. He did a little bit of interference. Solo was able to get the spike onto Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens sold it like a champ. He really went over in it. And the whole match itself, especially at the end, you could watch Paul Heyman and how in disgust he was of all of this, and even getting down to Kevin Owens' level and trying to back off the bloodline. So you got Gorillas of Destiny, you got Solo Sikoa, and you got Paul Heyman, who feels like it's gone too far. This I love. This has me so intrigued with what they're going to do with the bloodline, where it will go, and that they are giving it more shelf life. I did worry that having Solo and Tama Tonga in there, that they were gonna spin their wheel, because like Randy Orton should be able to RKO these guys and move on. But I thought that adding Tonga Leo in there beefs things up. Jacob Fatu is still waiting out there and could and will be added into this whole faction. It leaves the big question of what's next. And as we're going to go to King and Queen of the Ring, we could see trios match. We could end up seeing one-on-one matches being done. There's a lot of options they can do with the bloodline, and they're keeping the story thread going. Roman Reigns is nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. We found out on SmackDown that Roman was not removed from the draft. It was Paul Heyman's doing. There's a lot of layers and things that they're setting up, and I think a lot of dominoes are going to fall, maybe by SummerSlam or starting at SummerSlam, if Roman Reigns does return at that point. I think it is smart right now, with looking at how tonight or today actually went through, that they keep Roman off TV for a while, and they allow the bloodline to really build themselves up as this new dominant force, this Gorillas of Destiny type of bloodline. It's going to be great to see what they do. It all kind of feels like it's going to lean towards The Rock being final boss and in charge of all of this. And hopefully we end up with bloodline warfare, but a new version of it, because even after the first match, we did see a backstage moment between Solo and the Gorillas and Jey Uso looking on. So it's probably going to lean towards a big schmoz of a match where Roman teams up once again with Jimmy and Jay down the road and takes on a new bloodline. It's gonna be wild, it's gonna be fun. This match was kick-ass, I absolutely loved it. Next match on the card was going to be the women's title match for the WWE Women's Championship. Bayley, the champion, going up against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. Again, crowd didn't let up for this entire thing. Not to go beat by beat for this whole match, but still, I really liked it. I like that they jumped into it. They didn't do like Naomi and Bayley teaming up against Tiffany too much. They did the 1D towards the end on her, which got her out of there. Tiffany Stratton, though, is the highlight. And I think that she showed that she can hang in a title match like that. Giant spotlight. She's relatively new to the main roster, right? Like, she's been around for a bit, but she's just getting started in WWE on the main roster. Naomi did great, Bayley did great, and I think Tiffany Stratton was the standout for this whole thing. Bayley retains by getting roll up, so Naomi goes for a roll up on Bayley, and then Bayley reverses it and gets the roll up victory on Naomi, which is great because Naomi can afford to take that loss. Tiffany Stratton was taken out with a 1D and rolled out of the ring, so you could still do Tiffany versus Bayley one-on-one, which I'd personally love to see them do. Maybe not at King and Queen in the Ring. Maybe they will do that at Clash of the Castle, or they could get it all the way to SummerSlam if they wanted to. Maybe that'd be the first match or in a series of matches, and Tiffany Stratton maybe picks up the belt there. The other thing I can see them doing though with Tiffany is going to be Money in the Bank. I think one of the big directions they can go in with Tiffany is going to be giving her that women's Money in the Bank briefcase, cash it in at Bayley on like SummerSlam or even the night of Money in the Bank. Go down that path. She showed that she's going to be one of the biggest players in the women's division. I'm excited to see. This match was just fun. It was really good pace, and they stretched it out, and it was fun overall. That crowd, man, is real good. The next match we had was going to be Damian Priest, your World Heavyweight Champion, going up against Jey Uso. Jay's entrance with the crowd was next level. That was something else. That crowd was like shaking the camera during most of those entrances. It was pretty wild. This match, I thought that this was one of the kind of lower points for me. I loved a lot of this show overall. I think the crowd just added so much personality to it and brought it up a notch, kind of like what they did with Puerto Rico last year. That's what this felt like. This match itself, it didn't have the intensity. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of trading blows, but I never felt fully invested in this match. And it's also probably to do with the build. Priest just won the title as well, so it really didn't feel like Jay ever had a chance of getting this belt off of him. There's great near fall spots and Uso splash and everything. They made it build it up to that point where it seemed like it was going to happen. But the biggest story beat we got out of this was going to be the interference of JD McDonough and Finn Balor trying to stop Jey Uso and cut him off. And they kept doing all of that. And then eventually it led to Damian Priest being able to finish off Jey Uso and retain his title with all that Judgment Day interference. But the announcers were talking about it, and Priest even was going after them. And even before the match, you know, on Raw and everything, this whole thing has been Priest not wanting help from Judgment Day. So I think that this story with Jay getting pinned and it ending, I think the larger story they're going to be telling with Priest is going to be him splitting ways with the Judgment Day. At the very end, we saw a lot of this, kind of hints, really clear hints to it, as Jay was done, beaten in the ring, and JD and Finn are beating him down, and Priest is pushing them off, saying he's done. So you can see that they're gonna probably pivot to a face turn at some point. The bigger story, I think, is going to be, will Damian Priest keep pushing back on Judgment Day getting involved and separating them and pushing them away, and eventually they all turn on Damian Priest. You could end up having a cool match where you're going to get like Finn Balor versus Priest, for example, and do that. And eventually I think Priest drops the title to maybe Drew McIntyre if he eventually turns face and loses, and it's like because of the Judgment Day screwing over Damian Priest. And then there goes their story. Meanwhile, Mommy returns at some point and realizes the house is all broken and burned down. Match was good. It didn't really feel like it kicked into next gear. But again, the crowd really helped lift that match up a lot. All right, next match was going to be the women's tag team title match. The Kabuki Warriors, your champions, going up against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Match was good. This was not a bad match by any means, but this was probably the one match of the whole card, and it wasn't a big card either, right? This was the one match where I kind of went, it didn't totally stick. The reason why I say that is I think that there was just a little bit of clunkiness in the ring. and I thought Jade needed a little bit more work and more seasoning and polish during this match, because I felt like just some of the spots just didn't hit. There's a little bit of meandering, a little bit of like, it seemed to be like where she didn't know where to go in certain spots. I think everybody did everything they could in the match, and I think it was good. Like, the match overall was good, and they got to the end and nothing was like blown spots, but I felt like I could just tell watching that Jade's comfort level isn't quite there yet. They tried to do a lot of hot tags, and to be fair, they did keep Jade in the match for a lot longer than we've seen her even in the most recent matches, where she's just getting hot tagged, doing big power moves, and exiting out of there Hulk Hogan style. They kept her in there for a while, and I think that's the smart thing to do. I think it's almost growing pains. Go through that, start getting more reps, get more time in the ring, because eventually she's going to have the one-on-one match and not a squash match. And that eventual match is probably going to be against Bianca Belair when they inevitably split. But I think the tag team path for her is probably best right now, where they can improve week over week. The match was good. I felt like some of the spots and moments in there were a little clunky. The finish, though, was awesome. Jade's whole flip of Kairi Sane on her shoulders, flipping her around, and then just dumping her was an incredible sequence at the end. So she totally nailed that. Bianca comes in with a KOD, and then they get the pin, and you got new women's tag team champions in Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. The question's going to be, they have those belts on SmackDown now, the draft is over. Who will they feud with? Will it be Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, and is that it? The Kabuki Warriors are on Raw. Jade and Bianca can at least move over to Raw a little bit if they want to feud over there, but they're probably going to keep those belts and keep that act over on SmackDown. So I do kind of wonder who are going to be the big matchups in tag teams for the new champions. Good showing, crowd was into it, so not too bad of a match. Main event time, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes. Crowd chanting for everything. Cody's entire entrance all the way through, the actual announcements in the ring by Samantha, and just the phenomenal breakout chants during the match. Fun match, pretty much what I expected, and that is not a bad thing, because I did expect a really solid match out of AJ and Cody. They did their best, I think, to build this thing off of essentially like nothing, like a really short build, and Cody's not losing the belt. Like, I hung around at the end to see if maybe they were going to do any shenanigans, because since Survivor Series with Punk showing up, you never know until they roll credits officially, is something else going to happen or not. They didn't. Cody wins. Cody retains the belt against AJ. Really hard-hitting match, fun to watch. Crowd was just electric for the whole thing. Everything both guys were doing. My big question is going to be, and this is usually what I end up thinking about, is, okay, yeah, Cody retained. Didn't see that as a surprise. What are we doing next? Are they going to roll right into the Bloodline stuff? Are they going to continue the feud with AJ? I can see AJ wanting to get another match in against Cody, but it wasn't like he was ever like, oh, he just beat me kind of thing. AJ could bring in the rest of the OC. They're on SmackDown, try to faction it up again and go after Cody Rhodes. They mentioned the Bullet Club a couple of times on commentary. I thought that was pretty fun. Everyone was having fun during this PLE, and that's what I like the most. But where are they going to go with AJ? Where are they going to go with Cody? Is Cody about to go into his big Bloodline story, or are they still going to pull things back a little bit? The Bloodline is very strong right now. You got Orton, you got Kevin Owens. They kind of need a third man, brother. So it really feels like if they want to get things with the Bloodline in motion again, I don't see Cody going into another story unless they're just going to feed him another challenger or do another AJ match, for example. He might pivot over and ally himself with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton to start dealing with the Bloodline. And they could bring in Jacob Fatu. Maybe they're going to do a solo versus Cody match at some point, but I really am curious to know where they're going to go with Cody Rhodes, because my one fear with Cody is that they just keep feeding him these talents and these opponents that you never feel like are ever going to take the title off of him, and that we're all kind of waiting for the bigger story. And that can be okay. They love a good story. But the match was great. Overall thoughts of Backlash, it surprised me. Like I said at the beginning of this, I was actually very surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I was just invested, having fun. I think it was a fun show. They sold out that arena. It was something like the highest gate in WWE history for an arena show. So that's pretty cool. 16,000 people and change. Really well done, well put together. They are cranking on all cylinders when it comes to these PLEs in foreign markets, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. But guys, what did you think of Backlash 2024 in France? Thought it was a lot of fun. Hit me up in the comments, and if you enjoy videos like this, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, because it's like a TV show. Don't go anywhere, because I got this video right here. We're talking more WWE news and having more in-depth conversations about the product. Have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.